Now I want to look at configuring the player texture. If I move to the textures folder here in the project panel and I select the player texture by clicking on it, you can see a preview of that here in the object inspector. Now this player texture consists of different parts. These are going to be used much later in the course to create an animated player character. But let's just take a look at the parts that we do have. We have the head of the character, which is over here on the left hand side of the texture. We have the character body. We have one arm and one leg. Now these arms and legs are supposed to be duplicated. So this arm will be duplicated twice, one for each side, and the same for the leg. These images are simply going to be reused to create two versions of them, one for each side of the body. Now, of course, this image here, this player image, has been imported as one complete and single image. And really, what it represents is a multi-part object. Now, I could, of course, have gone into Photoshop and cut up all these different parts of the texture. So have the arm as a single image, the body as a single image, and all the other parts as a single image. And I could have imported them into Unity separately. But we don't actually need to do that. We can have Unity cut up the image for us, giving us access to the individual pieces. And what I want to do here is to show you how we can do that. If I select the character here and I move to the Object Inspector, you will see under the field Sprite Mode, this says single. And what that means is that this texture is one single piece. It represents just one sprite, and that is not correct. It in fact represents multiple sprites. So if I click on Sprite Mode and the drop down list here, we can change this from single to multiple, like so. And now I'm going to select multiple here. And when I do that, I can click on this button here that says Sprite Editor. So I'm going to click on the button that says Sprite Editor, and it asks me, do I want to apply the settings? That is the change multiple here. Yes, I do. So I'm going to choose Apply. And when I do that, Unity brings up the sprite editor, which is opened up in a completely different part of my screen. And you can use the middle mouse wheel to zoom in and zoom out of the image if you want to here. So we have this sprite editor, and it's just showing me a large version here, a large display of my texture file. And to get started at cutting up this image, all you have to do is to click and drag around the pieces that you want. So for example, if I want to separate this arm piece here, I'm going to move to the corner and click and drag my mouse and then release. And when I do that, it's now separated this part as a single sprite piece. I can do the same for the other pieces. I could click and drag, for example, here. I could click and drag, for example, there, and also here to create all these different pieces. But we don't have to do that either. There's an even simpler way that we have available to us. If I click the button here that says Revert, it goes back to the original state. And instead what I can do is move up here to the button that says Slice. So I'm going to click on the button that says Slice, and we get different options here. But I'm going to leave these at their default. So I'm going to leave the type set to Automatic. And then I will choose Slice, and Unity will analyze this image for all the pieces that it regards as separate independent pieces. So I'm going to choose Slice, and when I do that, you can see that Unity has already identified the different limbs of this body, separated them into different pieces. Now it's named them char 0, char 1, and char 2, and char 3. I'm going to rename them, so I'm going to select the head part, and I'm going to rename that to Spr Head, SPR for Sprite. I'm going to select this arm here, and I'm going to choose SPR Arm. I'm going to choose the torso, and I'm going to choose SPR Torso. And the same for the leg. I'm going to choose SPR Leg and press Enter on the keyboard. And now that I'm happy with those settings, I'm going to click the button that says Apply. When I do that, all I need to do now is exit the sprite editor, and if I select the char character here in the project panel and I click on the rightward pointing arrow here, so I'm going to select that, and when I do, you can see that what is unveiled and what is disclosed here are 4 separate pieces, and these are the ones that we have separated out. And I can access these individually just by clicking and dragging, for example, on the head, dragging and dropping that into the scene view here. And now we can see the head is a completely separate piece. I have completely separate access to the leg and to the torso and to the arm as well. And now this character has been separated out into completely separate and independent pieces, each of them a separate sprite. I'm just going to select all of these pieces in the scene and delete them. We will want to use them later for building the game character, but right now it is just enough for us to configure this here, and this texture now has been configured ready for later when we create a player character.